to show you how I meal prep my meats, busy mom style. I go shopping at Costco and I buy all my meats at once, and then I individually package them and freeze them. And I do that as soon as I get home, and so all my meals are organized in the freezer, or my meats anyway. They're organized in the freezer, and I grab a gallon baggie out each night and defrost it in the refrigerator, or if I'm busy, I just take it out in the morning and let it defrost on the counter so it's ready when I come home for lunch or for the early afternoon to prep for dinner, depending on what it is. So, what meats do I use and how do I prep them? I'm gonna start with my sirloins. Sirloins are a lean cut of meat, and so I actually try to find the sirloins that are portioned in smaller sizes when I go there, because sometimes they have really thick cuts and sometimes they have smaller, thinner cuts. So I go for the smaller, thinner cut. And everything has to be easy. That's the first thing. Everything has to be easy. The easier you make it, the easier it will be to eat healthy. And so, anyway, I unpackage my sirloins, and I have this right here. This is a meat tenderizer. And when you press down, all these little knives, can you see that? All these little knives come out. And so I always tenderize my meat so that the marinades that I use will sink down into the meat. And also it just, the steak is easier to cut and chew when you finally cook it. Okay, so that's it. That's all I'm gonna do to tenderize them. I'm going to take a gallon freezer baggie, and I'm going to put 3 cuts of meat in the bag. So there's me, there's my husband, and then there's my 3 little girls. And I'm only doing 3 cuts of meat. And the reason for that is because when my husband's out of town, 3 is more than enough meat for me and my 3 girls, and it even often leaves me leftovers because I'm only doing 4 ounces of steak. And so 4 ounces of steak isn't a huge portion. It's about your palm size. And so 3 steaks is enough. Now, if my husband's in town, that's 1 meal. That's 1 meal. And so I might have to defrost extra meat for lunch or something, but I always know I have leftovers if it's just me. My girls, 1 steak is plenty for my girls. And it's not that they're not hungrier than that. Sometimes they're hungrier than that, but they eat the meals that I prepare. They'll eat the steak, and they will eat, steak with sweet potatoes or whatever, but they'd rather just have a bowl of cereal. So as a mom, I'm always worried about what they're eating and whether or not it's healthy, but I also know that when I'm eating clean, it's a lot of work to prep meals for people who are not going to eat my meals, who are not going to enjoy them, who are going to complain when they have to eat vegetables with their dinner. And so I will cut up 1 steak, and they'll eat that 1 steak, and then I make them eat the vegetable portion that I serve them. And then if they're still hungry, they'll eat their snacks or their bowl of cereal or whatever, because that's what they would rather eat anyway. And part of being able to stick to an eat clean meal plan is to make it simple, and also is you don't want to be preparing meals for people who are going to waste them. And so even my husband, sometimes I have meal prepped for him and me for a week straight, and he's not as dedicated as I am sometimes, because he wants to go get a donut, and so, or he'll have a craving for Taco Bell, and we know when a guy's on a diet, he can drop 10 pounds in like a week, and I'll drop 1 or 2 pounds in a week. And so it's easier for a guy sometimes to just incorporate those fast food meals and be fine. Well, it gets frustrating for me if I end up throwing away meals that I've taken so much time to prep and weigh. And so keep that in mind when you're preparing meals. Do not feel guilty about not feeding everybody or meal prepping for everyone the same meals. They may not value it, appreciate it, they may not eat it. You may end up tossing meals to at the end of the week. I've had that happen on multiple occasions until I learned my lesson. And then I said, you know, I'm not over preparing for everybody. I'm for sure preparing for me. And I might prepare for my husband, which actually most of the time I do when he's in town, because he's ready to eat healthy when he gets back in town from traveling. But I don't overdo it with the kids. I'll have a little bit of extra, and then I don't feel guilty, and mom's happy because, you know, she got to eat her clean meal. So so these were small steaks in this one, so I put 4 steaks in here, and there's 3 steaks in there and 3 steaks in here, okay? So to marinate my steaks, I just use Worcestershire, okay? And this is me getting my stuff at Costco. I buy bulk Worcestershire, and I buy that big package of sirloins. And why do you want to buy sirloins and not ribeye? Well, if you look at the fat content in a ribeye versus a sirloin, there's a huge difference. So for your sirloin is your steak cut that you really want to shoot for. Even fillets, which are heavenly, have more fat. Your flank steaks have more fat. And when you're following this type of diet, you just want to watch your fat content. That's the most important thing. And these steaks are just as satisfying. You're not going to feel like you didn't eat a steak or that it wasn't delicious. Save the ribeye for a cheat meal, you know, if you really have to have another steak. But this will be fine. You won't be craving the ribeye. Ribeye is actually my favorite cut of meat. But so anyway, so I fill it with Worcestershire, and then I roll these to just kind of squeeze all the air out. And then I seal it, okay? And I don't label my steaks because I know what my steaks look like. But that's how easy it is to prep my steaks. And that's enough for 3 meals. You know, if my husband's in town, 3 different meals. Or if it's just me, I can get, you know, a couple meals for me. And then I can also feed my kids. Okay, so that's how I prep my steaks. Ground turkey, I don't do anything to them but cut the package. And I use ground turkey for lots of different things. I will make meatloaf with it. My number one go-to thing that I make with my ground turkey is ground turkey tacos on corn tortillas. I make those every single week, sometimes twice a week. But my kids love the tacos and they're happy with it. So anyway, I just cut these apart, and I freeze these in their individual, and they already come individually packaged. And so for 4 ounces of ground turkey, and this is 93% lean, 93.7, it is 8 grams of fat and 22 grams of protein. And I think your sirloins are 8 or 9 grams of fat for 4 ounces of sirloin. So you're getting about the same amount of fat content for your meals. But your fat, all these meats that I'm eating are on the leaner side, minus the salmon, okay? Minus the salmon. So, but salmon, you know, you're gonna occasionally crave salmon, and you gotta have it's nice to have a good fatty piece of fish that's healthy for you. So for my salmon, to meal prep my salmon for the freezer, I have Lowry's Hawaiian Marinade is what I like to use. And now I don't weigh my individual pieces of salmon, but you're looking for about a 4 or 5 ounce piece or cut of salmon, and you're gonna see, I wanna say the fat content is around 14 or 15 grams of fat for that size piece of salmon. You'll wanna look it up, but that's double your fat content. So if you're eating salmon, which I always eat salmon like twice a week, or, you know, a minimum I get in once a week, you're gonna wanna pay attention to the size cut that you're eating. You're gonna wanna watch everything else that you do. But for those days that